Welcome to the Reimagine podcast. Each week, give yourself 30 minutes and meet the people working hard to create the future of insurance today.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another episode of the Reimagine podcast. And Laura, we are continuing to explore the interesting and really quickly changing market for solutions for retirement. Some of them are products, some of them are, I would say some of them are lifestyle choices. Almost every one of the retirement solutions involves managing money in some form or another. We've got a very interesting guest today. Do you want to make the introduction?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Today we have Marci Lobel-Esrig joining us. Marci is the founder, CEO, and General Counsel at SilverBills. So Marci, thanks so much for taking the time today to join us on this conversation. We'd love to hear more about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you get started with SilverBills? And a little bit about where the company is today and where you see it going in the future. So with that, Marci, I'll hand it over to you, and please talk to us a little bit about your story.
Well, thank you so much, Laura and Paul, for having me today. I really appreciate it. And basically, I was a lawyer for the New York Mets baseball team, the parent company, Sterling Equities, when the Bernie Madoff scandal broke about 2 weeks after I started. And my company lost about $500 million and almost the entire 401k of the company. And I worked on that matter as Associate General Counsel for about 8 years, and I became an expert in financial exploitation. I really had a unique window into financial exploitation. And at the same time, my elderly aunt was aging in her home, and she was struggling with managing her household bills. She told me she had to drive to the car dealer to drop off her check. And when I did the research into the overlap of those issues, I learned about the $1 billion annual elder financial exploitation problem in this country, often perpetrated because people needed help managing their bills, and they invited untrustworthy individuals into their homes who stole their jewelry or wrote unauthorized checks. And there was no national, scalable, safe solution to this problem. And because of what I had seen with Madoff, I realized that a business predicated on trust was really not the right solution. That when you send people into the home, there's too much opportunity for theft. So I left to start SilverBills, and we're growing across the country.
Well, what strikes me about the problem you described, Marci, is financial exploitation doesn't discriminate based on wealth or potential sophistication, right? It's it happens really to people regardless of what their economic status may be. So, I personally have had this problem. My mother suffered from dementia. I had to take over her savings. Thank God we had bill pay. Not sure what I would have done without it because she was living 2,000 and 3,000 miles away. So, between phones, emails, and the ability to go into her account, I was able to take care of a lot of problems. However, it's not the case for a lot of people. Is that right, Marci? A lot of people don't have somebody like me to deal with bills.
Correct. Well, first of all, a large proportion of that elder financial exploitation is committed by family members.
Interesting.
So the unpaid volunteer family member is not always the best solution for this problem. And the other issue is that currently there are about 56 million 65 and over individuals in the United States. It's growing to about 80 million in a few decades, and about 25% do not have children. They're called solo agers. They face a unique set of circumstances because a lot of the associated issues of aging are often handled by the adult children. And when individuals don't have adult children, they have to make other accommodations. So they have to find professional services for roles that were typically filled by children when they don't have them. So that's why that particular segment is really in need of trustworthy services, or we're going to be facing even more financial exploitation, in my opinion, in this country.
So if I were in the same situation today, tell me, how would this work?
Sure. So the relationship starts, I'm a lawyer. As Laura mentioned, I'm general counsel of the company, so we need a service agreement that's signed. And by the way, we accommodate the technology capabilities of each client on a client-by-client basis. So there are 17 million older adults who don't use computers at all, according to Pew Research. We don't force anyone to go online. They never have to open a computer. They never have to use an iPhone or anything. We can send it to them in the mail, the service agreement. We provide our clients with business reply envelopes. It makes it very easy for them to transmit documents to us. They don't have to write on an envelope if they have arthritis. They don't have to go to a post office to have envelopes weighed. Business reply envelopes provide the postage. So we can also do that online, or we can do it via fax. So that's how the relationship starts. They provide a service agreement to us that's signed, and then they're assigned a SilverBills account manager, and that's someone who's highly trained, who's based in the United States, who is their dedicated point of contact, and it's a person on the other end of the phone who they know and who they form a relationship with. And that account manager, first of all, obtains copies of each bill that the client wants us to handle. And again, that can be done through a text message, a photo of a bill, or through our business reply envelopes or a fax, however they prefer to transmit that to us. And then they craft a monthly budget with the client, and they benchmark categories of spending. And then every month the client will get a statement showing budgeted spend versus actual spend for each category, as well as transaction information for each and every transaction.
So talk to us a little bit about the clients. You mentioned, the solo agers, the adult children. Who's the ideal client, or are there several?
There really are several, and what's been interesting lately is a lot of the people that are contacting us are young, busy professionals, or the sandwich generation. Again, we're a professional service, and similarly to the way people outsource tax preparation to accountants, they can outsource bill management to SilverBills. And again, it's a person on the other end of the phone, a professional, so who's handling these matters. So a lot of busy professionals don't want to be bothered with this. And I don't know about you, but I don't want another app. I don't want to have to do anything on an app anymore. My phone is filled with apps. People, even young people, don't want more apps, and they don't want to have to worry about this. So increasingly younger people are contacting us. But in most cases, it is older adults around the country who are looking for a solution that's safe and trustworthy.
Autopay, does that work? I could go in and set up autopay, or set up for myself, or set it up for my parent?
It's a partial solution, but I don't think it's really the best solution. Autopay can accommodate if an older adult or anyone wants to send a check to the grandchildren for a birthday present. Most of our clients don't want to use PayPal to send gifts like that. They want a check to go in the mail. Or their religious institution is not able to do, in many cases, an ACH debit, or their home health aide, or their gardener, or their whoever it is providing personal services in the home. We actually have a 100% end-to-end technological solution for this process. We have the ability through an API to a third-party service provider to actually send paper checks that are authorized by the client. So I don't think, and with autopay, there's really there's no accountability. So we guarantee correct and on-time payment of all bills. For example, if you were handling your mother's finances and you forgot to pay her long-term care insurance premium and that was terminated, is she going to sue you, right? However, we have multiple levels of supervision such that won't happen. But in the event it does, we have 4 different types of insurance to compensate our clients for any mistakes like that. So therefore, autopay has none of that. And I think, it's well worth it to hire professionals to handle the task.
Well, and I do have a horror story from last company I worked at, where some elderly person had been paying premiums on a life insurance policy for a long time, got dementia, kids moved them to a nursing home. They shut down the bank account because they were on annual bill pay. Premium lapsed, the policy lapsed. Companies, we did everything at a company we were supposed to do. Send the lapse notices, repeated lapse notice. Guess what? It lapsed. finally, something happens to this woman where she actually wants to access the money, and we legally could not reinstate the policy because she'd aged out of having the policy. So I think in the end, somehow we took care of this person, but you don't want to put some of your financial protection at the mercy of an executive who's going to have the authority to overwrite the rules.
Exactly, and that is the problem with having individuals have to attend to these really critical details. So increasingly, older adults, have to face hospital stays that are unexpected, stays in rehab facilities that are unplanned, and they're traveling. They have multiple homes. These kinds of details may slip through the cracks, and the mistakes can be catastrophic, as you mentioned in your example. Luckily, that person was able to have that policy reinstated, but we are often contacted after the fact, and people are scrambling, and it's often not possible. So rather than face those dire consequences, our clients can be relieved of this worry that something like that is going to happen.
So, Marci, it sounds like to me, and going through it and actually working with grandparents right now, who we are their bill managers. We are all of the things to help keep them in their home currently. So, to me, I think this is a fantastic service. But from an employer's perspective, or a larger set, do you have any clients on that level who are looking at this as a solution or a benefit to employees as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we're in discussions. We haven't, no deals are signed yet, but, there's a caregiver crisis in this country. It was really brought to the forefront during COVID when 17% of caregivers either stopped working or decreased their hours because of caregiving responsibilities. And as you probably know, employers are increasingly under stress to retain employees. And employees are increasingly stressed by all of these burdens. So as an employer, if you can provide a trustworthy service to alleviate some of this burden from the shoulders of your employees, I think it's really critical, and we are one of those service providers who can do that. So it's a way to retain and attract employees when these employees feel like their employers understand their needs and provide valuable services that can help with this process.
And you mentioned that your company sort of came from your own personal experience. Tell us about how did you sort of test the idea, and at what point did you say, what, I've got a service that actually it could be a marketable business?
So I don't know if you've heard of Steve Blank. He wrote the Lean Startup Methodology. And what he says is, don't sit behind a desk and build some cool software product, and then wait to see if it's really something that people want. What I did is I just got out into the world and started describing this potential solution to both professionals, colleagues, families, and older adults themselves. And it was such a simple yet valuable concept that it resonated with almost everyone I spoke with. And that really convinced me that that I was onto something, and that I should, work on it full time.
So where do you see the future of SilverBills going? And we've talked a lot about where it started and how relatable it is and how valuable it is, but what's next?
Well, we closed our venture capital fundraising round at the end of March. We have incredible investors who are very supportive and encouraging, and those include the Hearst Corporation through their Hearst Lab program, which invests exclusively in female founders in recognition of the fact that over 90% of venture capital funding backs male founders. So kudos to Hearst for that. They're working diligently with us on so many aspects of growing the business. And Sia Ventures, who co-led that round, very interested from the perspective of health. As you probably know, there's a strong nexus between financial stability and health, as recognized by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. financial stability is one of the social determinants of health that potentially can be included as a benefit in health plans. So those investors, as well as Allianz Life, Securian Financial, and Generator, expect, as we do, to propel SilverBills to huge adoption throughout the country. The demographic trends are really supporting that, and that's what our hope is.
Yeah, well, that's great. I guess if people want to find more about SilverBills, or they'd like to reach out and contact you, Marci, what's the best way?
Our website is silverbills.com. That's SilverBills.com. There's a wealth of information on the website, as well as contact information, and we'd be happy to talk to anyone who has any questions about our services.
Great. Laura, any other questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I always like to ask this towards the end. What is your why, Marci? What is it that you wake up in the morning and you keep doing this day in and day out?
What's really incredible for me, and the best part of my week, is when we have our team meetings and the account managers talk about how they've really affected people's lives, how they're enabling people to live safely and securely in their homes. And we are on a mission. It's a social mission to help individuals age with dignity and security without being financially exploited because they need help with this problem. And that really is my why, and I'm really excited to be on this journey.
Hey, well, thanks so much, and thanks for listening to our show. Give us your feedback, questions, and if you have other companies and founders you'd like to hear, send us a note. Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for listening. We want to especially thank today's sponsors, Launch and Symetra.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information about this company and other great startups at imagine.nfg.com.